Hi, welcome back to Tip of the Tongue Business Series. Today I'm talking all things legal with Nick Burch from Burch+Co Lawyers. Nick, great to see you today. Thank you so much for making time to chat to me. I know you're ridiculously busy with all the changes that are going on in government and HR and legal things that are affecting business owners right now. I think one of the things we've always loved about working with you, on top of your amazingly positive, energetic view on life, is around the fact that you offer a service for a fee. So when you've quoted a fee, all the interactions that allow you to get to the end of providing that product for your client is included in that quotation. And I think for small businesses right now, in particular, one of the things that they need to be considering the most is their finance and how they use that money wisely. So we've always loved that about the way you do service for your clients. Have I described that okay?
Oh, you have, and thanks for your kind words, Sharon. That's very kind of you. And thanks for inviting us to be a part of this program. I think it's important for us as much as possible to get information out to as many people as possible in relation to what's going on at the moment, different opportunities and avenues that are available, so that our community can make decisions with confidence and they can protect and move forward in their professional and personal lives to get some kind of certainty around things. So yeah, thanks for inviting us to be involved. Looking forward to the chat, and yeah, your comments about our service. I hope I live up to the billing.
I'm sure you will. So I think one of the conversations I've been hearing recently is around contracts and deadlines and things changing and expectations changing, and some of those are unknown. So what is the situation for somebody right now if they can't meet a deadline in a contract that they've previously agreed?
Yeah, so I think the important thing to remember in any kind of decision that we are taking is that we aren't the first to be coming up against some kind of obstacle to delivering under a contract. We aren't the first people who have had an issue in relation to cash flow, or we aren't the first people that had to face some kind of, I guess, constraint or obstruction to the way that we do business. This time around, it's COVID-19. And the scale and the magnitude of the impacts of that are unprecedented in our lifetime. But if we remove the spectre of the virus out of the context of the decision that we are making and have a look at the legal framework that already exists within our contract, there may be mechanisms within the contract for the ability to give a delay notice. There may be concepts of force majeure, which would explain what is to happen in this scenario when despite everything that I've tried to do, I can't deliver under this contract. That if we have the ability within a contract to put in a notice to say, well, because my supply chain has dried up or it's delayed because I'm relying on stuff to be imported from another country, it's not my fault that this has happened, but I'm just letting you know that potentially I might not be able to meet that deadline. It gives people certainty. So that they up the line can make a decision with a certain degree of confidence to let their principals know that what's going to happen in relation to the whole project. Most people are in the same boat here, and it's terrific in the construction industry, for example, that industry has relatively been able to remain open. There've been social distancing on site. But in that environment, a delay notice is passing around on a daily basis. It's kind of like a bit of like a hot potato to find out who it's going to end up with at the end. But we can all sleep more soundly at night if we've at least looked at the contract that we've entered into with other people and tried our best to come to some kind of arrangement using the constructs that are already there, so that we know and our customers and our clients know what it is that what we're dealing with and what the revised expectations might be.
And an opportunity to possibly renegotiate some of those targets that have already been set up. If you open that conversation honestly and say, this isn't going to happen right now, but what I can do is, and give them some idea of what that new position could look like.
Exactly right, Sean. And it might be that the contract that we've drafted is no longer relevant, and we might enter into a new one. That the delay, the forecast delay might be such that it's just not possible to rework the existing arrangement. So let's use this as an opportunity to regularise things, face up to what it is that has happened, and get some confidence and certainty around what it's going to be like going forward.
Thank you. That's really helpful. I think another one that I'm hearing about from small business owners is being able to pay their rent, or if they're in a position where their rental can't pay them. I know there's been all sorts of things that we've been hearing about, moratoriums for 3 to 6 months, not able to evict for 3 to 6 months. Can you just unpack what the real situation is to that, please, Nick?
Yeah, I'd love to be able to give you absolute certainty on it, but I think that in the Victorian situation, the Parliament passed this afternoon what it's calling its omnibus COVID-19 bill, which is to put into law all of the different changes to statute and regulations that have been talked about, and the construct that we've been operating under. Unfortunately, at the moment, the current versions of the Act that are available online actually don't go into the detail of what is in the regulations, but the statute says that the Parliament has the ability to pass regulations at least now. This is around the tenancy piece that you were mentioning. So I'm assuming that throughout the course of the rest of this afternoon and this evening, those regulations will become clearer to us. But the principles that you mentioned are 100% correct. That the National Cabinet released guidelines for landlords and tenants almost a fortnight ago now, which pointed to the need for a constructive conversation to happen, a realistic conversation to happen between the landlord and a tenant, to facilitate that conversation, to work out what is possible, what's going to be achievable between both parties, so that the landlord can have some kind of cash flow coming in so they can keep their bank happy, but the tenant can still, I guess, continue to operate their business, and then also to pay some kind of rent moving forward. The disappointing thing that I've been seeing over the last week is a bit of a shift away from that collaborative discussion towards landlords sitting in the back of their seats, folding their arms and saying, well, they're just guidelines. They're not actually law yet. Take me to the Small Business Commission and we'll sort it out there, which is concerning to me. And I'm hoping that with the passing of the legislation in the Victorian Parliament this afternoon, that there'll be more clarity around what are the actual legal requirements of a landlord and a tenant, to get, again, clarity and certainty around this area. Also, we've got to remember, though, there's more to being in a property than just paying rent. So you've still got to do the right thing. Still got to make sure that you're using the property for the purpose that you're permitted to do it. So it's not a total get out of free card, but that there should be some relief in relation to the amount of rent that's being required to be paid.
Yeah, that would be great, wouldn't it? If everybody could help each other out right now. I think that would be fantastic. I think that goes back to when you're talking about operating your business, one of the situations where people are struggling to actually stay operating and practice social distancing. Have you got any advice for businesses that's going to sit in that category right now?
Yeah, so for some businesses, it's just not a reality to be able to work from home, or to have appropriate social distancing. In those scenarios, again, take COVID-19 out of it. The Fair Work Act, for example, has provisions in it in relation to stand down. So if you physically can't give your employees work to do, the people who drafted that legislation a long time ago, and it has been used to great effect prior to COVID-19 in relation to either strike action by workforces or supply chain delays or destruction, or natural disasters, that there is the ability for employers to stand their workforce down without paying them, and then there are avenues available for by government subsidies for those employees to be paid. And in this instance, it's the job seeker payment that we've heard about a lot. And so many hundreds of thousands of people have been able to, or have had to access during this period. But it's just, I guess, the unfortunate reality of the situation that if you can't get your employees to be working from home, I think that we just need to look at utilising the framework that we've got to get the best possible scenario to A, look after our employees the best that we can, but B, ensure that the business can survive this, that we can have some kind of continuity, and so we've got something to come out at the other end.
I love that, and it kind of leads into my next question really, which was, what does this all really mean for employees right now? You know, where do they stand? Where do they go to get information? How do we support them at the moment? Yeah,
so the Fair Work Ombudsman is updating its website almost, I was going to say daily, it's more often than daily. And particularly in the early stages where there was that such great degree of uncertainty about what were the restrictions going to be, what was the medical and the health outlook going to be, was it going to be a total wipeout? And during those times, the Fair Work Ombudsman was a terrific resource for all employees to just give updates in relation to what was available to them. Now that the Fair Work Act has been changed and the government has brought in its new short-term measures in relation to the job seeker payment and now the job keeper payment or subsidy, the Fair Work Ombudsman has given great clarity around, as an employer and an employee, what are the rules of engagement and how do we make best use of what the government has made available.
Brilliant, thank you. I think there is a lot of information out there. I think it's really difficult for people to unpack it and understand the relevance to themselves because there is so much information. So thank you, that's brilliant.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest risk to businesses going through this time, Sian, is what all businesses, I guess, rely on that connection between its employees. If you're in the service industry, connection is so important between the people delivering your services and your customers, your patrons. With everyone working from home and being isolated from each other, it's a real risk that element of connection is lost. Yeah. And it's the biggest risk in our business. And it's my greatest fear in relation to my own team, is that we work so hard to get that community feeling that we are a team. And it's just an unfortunate reality that physical proximity is a large part of that. Yeah. And so I'm looking for different ways and ways to get different advice to keep that heart, to keep that connection and that feeling of belonging across teamwork. And I think that's just as big a concern for employers, or should be just as big a concern for employers, as the financial aspects and impacts of this time are.
I think that's really spot on, and everything, the theme in that what you're saying today is about that communication. Communicate with your landlord, communicate with your staff, communicate with your employer, and build those channels that actually allow people to keep that communication going. I think when you work in an office space together, I don't think you actually realise how much of your day you pick up on each other's little nuances and tone of voice, and somebody sort of, you know, a bit kind of humped over their desk maybe, or a bit, you know, something's going on, and you can pick up those things when you can see them. But how do you pick up those things when so much of that is missing from this sort of, you know, online space? And how do you make sure that people are still feeling okay with what's going on around them? Because everybody's scenario has changed. There's not, you know, even those people that are still going to work, that work situation has changed. So everybody has had to deal with change of some form, and everybody does deal with it differently. So don't make an assumption, ask the question. And if it doesn't sound quite right, call it out. You know, that doesn't sound good to me. This is, come on, what's going on? So I love that.
That's great advice. Thanks, John.
Yeah. One of the things I've seen a lot of, and I love in the small business space, is the ability to pivot your business. And we're seeing a lot of people thinking outside the box, keeping with their value and their vision and their mission, but trying to use what they have within their business to service the market that's out there right now. I wonder, are there things that they would need to be considering legally, Nick? Because obviously things change when your service change and your offering changes a little bit. Are there things they might possibly have missed that could leave them vulnerable in making those pivots?
Yeah, that's a terrific question. And I think that it touches on, I guess, something which has inspired me over the last month. And that's been this sense of entrepreneurship and ingenuity around how people are going to get through that. Okay, faced with something that's incredibly difficult, and to watch members of our community, in our client community and broader, to actually take this, to take the situation head on, and to, you know, I am going to tweak my business. I am going to move from being bricks and mortar to being online. I'm going to use this as an opportunity to partner with someone who I've wanted to work with previously and collaborate and see what we can possibly do. Yeah. I only found out last night that actually two of our clients, who I didn't realize that they knew each other, and they didn't know that they were actually mutual, that they were both clients of mine, but they formed together last weekend to broadcast and put on an online music festival. It looks terrific. And but just concepts like that it's exciting to see, and it's inspiring to see. It makes our job as lawyers quite boring, but to see what other people have done, I've really enjoyed. But you make a really good point that and I think there was a lot of that going on in the first few weeks of this. Now that the lay of the land is clearer, we know what the restrictions are, we know what the potential health implications are, and we have a greater understanding of what the road ahead is going to look like. Now might be the time to take a breath, take our shoulders away from our earlobes, and maybe backfill a little bit, to look at, does our insurance policy cover our new business, or have we tweaked it that much that it now sits outside the coverage of what it is that we're covered for? Do our terms and conditions cover the products and services that we are now offering, or are they not quite right? Have we formed partnerships and joint ventures with people, and is it clear on who is actually owning what it is that we've built? We're creating some amazing intellectual property. Who owns it, and what are we going to do with it moving forward? My expectation is that a lot of these new businesses and new ideas that people have pivoted to are going to become long term. They're going to be either additional revenue streams, or they may become the primary revenue stream for a lot of people who have followed an idea, or followed a dream, or followed something that's excited them previously, to see if they can commercialize it. And I think that, yes, there is a lot of disaster and a lot of sadness and a lot of fear and anxiety around this, but there are glimmers of some real exciting things that are happening. And that's what I've been proud of our client community in the way that they have responded to this challenge. And it's been incredibly inspiring.
Yeah, I love it too. I'm hearing all sorts of amazing things, which again, you know, I love this as a space anyway. It's really creative, it's really innovative, it's where people want to make an impact, focus on customer service. I love it as a space anyway. Nick, thank you so much for your time today. I'm sure there's a lot of people that your advice will have rung true with. What's the best way for people to get in touch with you to discuss their concerns?
Oh, well, yeah, our website has our contact details on it, which is burchcolawyers.com.au, B-U-R-C-H, co-lawyers. And our phone number is 0399481950. And you've got my details, Sian, as well. And I'm happy for you to either publish them on the screen with this, or get in contact with you, and more than happy to help out as many people as possible. We've felt as though we've had a big role to play within our client community over the last few weeks. And it's felt good to be useful. It's felt good to be helpful, to try to plot and encourage our clients to plot a pathway through this. It would have been incredibly easy for many people to throw their hands in the air a month, 3 weeks ago and say, this is too uncertain, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm shutting up shop and going to go to bed and let me know when it's all over. And I take my hat off to everyone who hasn't done that, who've put their shoulders back and their chest out and have said, what can we do to get through this? And have ridden every bump and taken every hit along the way. And like I said, I'm proud of the people that we've been working with who have done that. And I think that they're incredibly inspirational.
It's awesome to hear you feel that connectivity to your clients. I think that's lovely, Nick. Thank you. Really appreciate your time. I know you're ridiculously busy. Thank you so much for making the time to chat to me. Hopefully we'll be helping a lot more people as we go through the series. And would love to chat to you in another couple of weeks when I'm sure there'll be even more updates that people need to hear unpacked and understand what that means for them.
And that's
so really
exciting. Yeah,
your time.
That sounds terrific. Thanks so much, Sean.
Thanks, Nick.
Bye-bye.